Hi again, it's Alec Mason, and welcome to today's video where we'll explore a really critical aspect of running a successful service company, and that's billable versus actually paid hours. And we need to understand those billable hours. So I'm going to presume that you understand what billable hours are, but let's just take a quick moment as a reminder, because it isn't. So billable hours are the hours that your employees spend working on clients' projects, tasks, jobs that we can invoice to the same clients. And if we're on a time and material job, we get to bill for each hour an employee works, plus any materials or equipment that we use. So, however, if it's a contract job, then we have a fixed cost that a client will pay for a certain level of work rendered. And on these types of jobs, efficiencies are really critical, because if we're not careful or we don't bill or forget to bill for changes that are not part of the scope, we can quickly end up losing not only earned profits, but also end up being in a loss situation on the job that we definitely need to happen. So not wanting something to happen and ensuring it doesn't happen are two different things. Let's explore that. Let's continue. Let's look at a common issue, not billing enough. Okay, so not billing enough for the hours worked or materials or equipment provided. So this frequently results in revenue losses that impact the company's profitability. But how can we identify when we're not billing? So here's some common signs of things to watch out for. Some obvious and some not so obvious. Number one is underpricing. If the pricing is too low, we may not cover all of our labor costs, materials, or equipment costs. But more importantly, not pricing right and not covering overhead costs properly is the biggest problem. And that's a direct consequence of not understanding what our break-even is. The question is, do you understand what your break-even is? If you understand what break-even is, then you can engineer your profit in. And if you don't, what you're left with is your profit is kind of just off to the side. And if you happen to manage your job right, you'll have profit. And if you don't, you'll end up losing money. That's not how you want to run your business. Unfortunately, most small business and sometimes even mid-sized business owners don't understand the break-even. You need to understand it. Number two is scope creep. Uncontrolled scope changes can lead to additional work that's not billed, and change orders that either aren't issued or not captured all of the labor, material, and equipment costs for a particular change. Many times foremen on the job, they don't write up change orders, or they don't include all the extra work needed as a result of usually something the customer needs changed that's outside of the agreed scope of work. This is a big problem area, and it needs to have some focus. Number three, inefficient processes. This isn't really apparent. It doesn't pop out, but it's a place where financial bleeding does occur. So inefficient workflows can result in unproductive hours that go unbilled. So this can be tracked by correctly doing a setup and manage job costing process within your accounting software package. But remember, again, tracking and monitoring are two different things. We do need to monitor those results. Number four, failure to track hours. Not tracking hours diligently can lead to missed billing opportunities. Identifying and correcting the issues is something that we need to focus on. We need a multi-pronged approach, but the setup needs to be right, and the processes and procedures that must be installed also need to be followed correctly on a consistent basis. So again, this varies depending on the business we're talking about. There's no boilerplate solution, but there are some generic things that we can do, and there's basically four major ones. Number one is reviewing pricing. Ensuring that our pricing reflects the true cost of providing those services while allowing for optimizing our profit, because ultimately it's all about making the customer happy is number one, but ultimately that is profit. And that means we must understand our labor burden, as well as what our hourly and salary employee costs are. And we also need to understand, as I mentioned before, our break-even, so we can apply our engineered in profit, not the profit that's just left over at the end of the day. So, as a reminder, labor burden consists of all of the additional costs besides the hourly or salary amounts for each of our employees that are working on these jobs. So things such as payroll taxes, FICA, FUTA, SUTA, benefits, workers' comp insurance, they're all part of labor burden. We need to understand those in detail so we know what our true hourly costs will be. Number 2, project management. Implementing effective project management that controls scope and tracks hours. So this tracking of hours should be ideally automated through various options that are available marketplace. But again, it's depend on what business we're talking about. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. Efficiency is number 3. Streamlining our processes to minimize our unproductive hours. That's a generic statement, but it does take work to get an understanding of what do we mean by unproductive. Every business is different, so it needs to be looked at in a business-specific manner, and that can't be covered. Number 4, tracking time. Encouraging consistent and accurate time tracking by our team. So this should be automated preferably. And by taking these steps, we'll improve our billing accuracy and boost revenue. So let's take a look at tracking jobs closely to prevent losses. So this is with the goal of optimizing profits while exceeding our customers' expectations. And this involves monitoring the progress of projects, tasks, jobs to ensure they stay on track, on time, and budget. This is not just reviewing WIP. In my experience, many service companies, they just look at their WIP and they think they got it all figured out. No, it doesn't just stop and end with WIP. You need to know a lot more about what's happening with your jobs, aside from just reviewing the WIP. And again, this is outside of the scope of this particular video. There is much more to be done to ensure that we're tracking our jobs correctly. And quite frankly, when I look at it, the business owners that I've run into that only look at their WIP and nothing more, they probably just don't know any better. And once they understand what they truly need to do within their business, the results end up being much better. Now, many times job tracking can be set up within your accounting software package, and sometimes there's other project-related software that can be purchased specific for the type of business we're talking about. But either way, investing in job tracking software assists with 4 critical things. Number 1 is resource allocation, making sure we assign the right people to the right jobs. Number 2 is real-time updates, staying updated on project status and identifying potential issues early by comparing percentage completion with percentage expenditure, for example. Number 3, cost control, monitoring expenses consistently to avoid going budget. And number 4, client communication, keeping the clients informed of project progress. They appreciate it, and it shows that you're managing jobs well. Now, let's summarize. This really has been a very brief overview of what should be done for managing billable versus paid hours in tracking jobs closely. Both are essential to maximize the success of the company and maximizing your profitability. There's a lot of work that needs to be done if your company is lacking in any of these aspects. But it's well worth to set up the procedures and processes to make this happen, because setting them up only needs to be done once. Then it's just a question of following those steps and making sure that we're tracking and monitoring what we're doing on an ongoing basis. And if these steps are taken correctly and things are implemented and followed consistently, the results will be our profits. And of course, let's not forget, our customers will be happier too, because we complete jobs in an organized manner or a more organized manner, likely faster with improved finish quality, and our customers get the results they want, and we get our profitability optimized. Now, some key takeaways. Number one, billable hours are likely the biggest part of your revenue, so they demand serious and consistent oversight. They're also likely your biggest cost. Number two, not billing enough can lead to losses of earned profits. This is financial bleeding that's unnecessary, and it's not really in your face. So it needs to be looked at, identified, and corrected. The problem that needs to be overcome is that not billing enough is not cut and dry. And as I mentioned, it's usually a hidden problem within service companies. It just doesn't stand out in front of you. Like, for instance, you're at a restaurant, you buy a burger and fries, you typically pay $15 or less for a plate, and somebody charges you $45. That's real obvious. But what we're talking about is not that obvious. It's buried. Number three, review pricing, improve project management, and track time diligently. Again, there's work behind all of these. It takes time to ensure these processes are optimized and repeatable. Number four, tracking jobs closely from not just a physical job standpoint, but from a financial view to prevent losses, to improve profitability and ensure project success. Now, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to this video as it does support the channel. For more information and resources, please visit our website in the description below. And also, if you have any questions, just post them down below and we'll respond back as promptly as possible. Until next time, keep raising your profit.